There was this gal that was working in my department, and we grab her food and we sit down, and she proceeds to tell me that she has a plan to have a baby. In this video, I've got a pretty comprehensive series of short TikTok videos, which explain what happened to this one young man as he thought it would be a good idea to become a sperm donor. I've said many times over the years, I've had a few people call in and they've talked about, hey, I want to have kids, but doesn't look like it's in the cards, or I don't really want to get married or anything like that. So I'm just going to become a sperm donor. And I've talked about it a few times, so I want to dedicate this episode to just this topic alone. We got about 60 to 90 minutes for today's show. Hopefully we'll have some time to take some call-ins. And by the end of the show, I hope you guys understand the risk that you're taking. I'm going to show you where you're going to be planting your seed, where you're going to be letting it grow. I'll give you some examples so that you have some better ideas of what you're getting into. And of course, you're going to hear about some of the legal consequences of thinking that it's a good idea to be a sperm donor. So, should we get into it? Let's do it. Let me share on screen the reel that I basically downloaded. It looks like I think it's a 5 or 6 part series. They're about a minute and change each. I think 1 or 2 of them are a little bit longer, but I'm going to play these for you and add some context by the end of each one so that you have some frame, some understanding about what's going on, where the bad decisions were made, and how to sort of handle this better so you can avoid making a train wreck out of your life as this gentleman did. So let's get right into this. If you guys can't hear it, let me know if there's any issues with the audio, but you shouldn't have a problem. I'm just going to play these and let's go.
I'm probably going to jail for this. I don't care. I've stayed quiet long enough. A few years ago, I agreed to be a sperm donor. She said she just wanted the baby and not a relationship. I was young and naive, and I trusted someone that I shouldn't have. When she told me she was pregnant, I congratulated her and moved to California. I thought that was the end of it. But then she started messaging my mom. She said she had no one, and she pressured us all to be at the birth. So we did. We were all at the birth. I signed the birth certificate, and I decided to be in the baby's life as a dad. I let her and the baby live in my Airbnb for free. I had to pay child support, and she took over $52,000 from me. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being a dad. She started asking me to be a family, and when I refused, she called me a deadbeat online, and I stayed silent throughout it all. 2.5 years later, I decided to take 2 DNA tests. Both of them said the same thing. I was not the father. When I shared the results, she said that I was lying and that we tampered with the test.
Before you all start believing his shit, some company with her DNA, that could have been anyone's DNA.
She filed a restraining order. A judge silenced me and made me remove all my posts based on Maria's claim that I was actually the father. Here is the court order DNA test that I had to request. And it confirmed again, I am not the father. And while I was silent, she kept going. She was changing dates on photos, spinning stories, manipulating people online. Some people believed her. But while she was doing that, I was uncovering the truth. Connections, manipulations, lies, and the truth about who the real father is. This is just the beginning of Maria's web of lies.
All right. So version or step 1, I guess we can say, shocking. She lied. She was deceptive. And then at the same token, guys, don't feel too bad for this guy, because he thought it was a good idea to basically have a one-night stand with this girl who was going to give him sexual access, thinking that he was also going to be a father, thinking that probably he could walk away from it scot-free. I've said this many times to you guys, and human beings are masters of one thing. We're very, very good at complicating our lives and justifying why we do it. And this stream of events that happened after this guy made this decision to go and spend a night with this nut bar and not guard his seed correctly, because he thought it would be a wise way to scatter seed and let somebody else take care of it. And I'll get more into that and later on, throughout the podcast, as we sort of dive down this rabbit hole. This is where he is now. All right, so let's go to part 2 and see what happened next in the second part in the series. Here we go. And this is part 2. Just going to play it at 1.25 speed to sort of get through it a little bit faster. And volume up, and boom.
Here's part 2 of my side. Apparently, I've been in a full-blown relationship I wasn't even aware of. Maria and I had a one-night stand on December 12th, 2020. She was in her 30s and I had just turned 24. And let me say this slowly for the people in the back. We were never in a relationship. She wanted more and I didn't. But instead of taking the L, she turned it into a full-blown homie hopper, like back to back. Wasn't even discreet about it. She just went down the roster like it was her job. I guess the logic was, if I won't date her, maybe I'll change my mind after I watch her hook up with all my friends. Bold strategy. It didn't work. And in case you think I'm still lying, her own cousin confirmed that we were never together. I'm sorry, Hadley. I know you hate this picture, but this is the time that Maria asked you to be a sperm donor. So she doesn't want to do IVF, and I'm convenient because we've already slept together once. She says she wants nothing from me, and instead of doing the smart thing and walking away, I said yes, because I was 24 and apparently thought the best use of my time was becoming a discount sperm donor for someone that I wasn't even texting back. I was thinking with the wrong head, obviously. She said, no strings, no drama. I just want a baby. I was like, sounds easy enough. I can do that. I really thought I could just sleep with her and help her get pregnant, then go back to business as usual. Like, thanks for stopping by. Good luck with the whole parenting thing. Top tier, dumbass behavior. I own that. I know it. But I genuinely believed her when she said it would be simple. No drama and no strings attached. That's not what happened.
All right. So at least he's owning his bad decision here. Before I go to the next one, I was just thinking as I was listening to him explain part two, share a little personal story time. I think you guys know, if you followed me for a while, in my 20s, I worked in the credit and collection industry. We dealt with a lot of different credit facilities for government, student loans, workplace safety, that sort of stuff. And there was this gal that was working in my department that we would kind of hang out with a few people, and slowly one or two of them sort of like disappeared. They quit, they moved on. And, one day she goes, hey, let's grab some lunch. We hadn't hung out in a while. So I'm like, fine, whatever, we go out to lunch, head over to the mall, and, we grab her food and we sit down, and she proceeds to tell me that she has a plan to have a baby. I think she was 30 at the time, if I'm not mistaken. Surprise, surprise. But by the time women hit 30, they hear the biological clock ticking. They start to worry about, missing the opportunity to become a mom. And I guess they get a little bit desperate, if we're being honest. But we can talk in another show about dumb choices that women make that lead them to a position where they're 30 and they start getting desperate. But we'll handle that some other time. So we're sitting there, and, she makes this announcement, I think I'm going to have a kid. And I was like, oh, well, good for you. I didn't know that you were pregnant. I didn't know you had a boyfriend or anything like that. And she said, I'm not. I said, oh, so what's the plan? And I'm not even kidding. With a straight face, she stared me right in my eyes and she goes, I'm looking at it. And I'm like, oh shit. So she wanted me to knock her up and thought that it would be that I would buy into her plan to donate and, let her fulfill that fantasy. And I was like, I had this look of confusion and almost disgust on my face, probably. And she continued to try to sell it. She's like, oh, well, why not? We're good friends. You're tall, you're good looking, the baby would be beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Completely like, and I'm just sitting there like my jaw's like, are you kidding me? First of all, the whole idea was crazy. Second of all, I'm not into redheads at all. Like, just completely unattracted to massive freckles redhead. Just not my style. Not for me, right? Some people like that. But that was a big aha red pilling moment. Like, I didn't think for a second that at that time, I must have been 28 or 29, I think, something around that. She was a little bit older, like a year or two older. And I didn't think for a moment that that was a strategy for women to have kids. I just thought at the time, you go get married, you have kids, and that's what you're going to do. But that's where you're at as a plugged in man at that point. So I don't completely fault this guy at 24 for falling for it. I didn't, at the time, but he did, and at least he owned his stuff. But we'll go over to part number 3, and we'll get into the next one. So we'll see how this unfolds and develops for this young man with this sperm donor idea. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full-length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here, where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one-on-one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.